So hello and welcome everyone present here. We hope that you are safe and sound at your homes with your family. Before we start with the webinar, may I request everyone to switch on your cameras, please? It would be really nice to see all of your faces. Our speakers has already taken so much of effort to prepare and come here. Let's also make him feel comfortable. There is no problem even if you're in pajamas that everything is fine. It's just that the more videos are on, the more eyes are there on the speaker, he'll be more comfortable to see your faces and interact with each other. As unfortunately we are facing due to our current pandemic situation, we are having an online webinar, but we want him to feel comfortable and feel it as if he is giving an offline webinar itself. I can see many of you are turning your cameras on, and it's really great to see the participation that we are looking at right now. So let's get started. So we hope you all are doing fine at times like this. I'm Shubhansh Nigam, your host. I'm Shubhansh Nigam from C3 Collaborative, your host for today's webinar on evaluation of RCC structural distresses by our national level STT expert speaker, Engineer Chandan Kumar. So before I begin with the webinar, I would like to speak a little about C3 Collaborative. So C3 Collaborative has each and every letter of our company has a meaning. Sustainable engineering, execution, design, technology, responsible, exponential enterprise. So as you can see, the motive and our mission was to create a company which had a meaning, which can help others and has a greater moral ground. What is C3? As you all know, many of you know about C3 Collaborative, but here's something to just jog your memory. C3 Collaborative is our platform on which we bring all AEC professionals on our digital platform or our digital portal to come together and create a good flow of clients for our professionals and an expertise, a line of endless expertise for our clients. As you can see, we have always advertised our 12 petals design that we have put in. Now, these are not just the 12 petal designs, but these are each and every factor that we believe in. And there are each and every factor or each and every areas that we want to cover. So right now, till this particular time, at this particular stage, we have 2,863 professionals from 15 countries, 42 states, and 448 cities. So yes, thanks to each and every professional's contribution towards our company, we have come here to this particular platform where we can come and say, yes, we are doing a good job. And we can hope that we can do much, much, much better in the future. Now, to begin with this, I would like to say a small thing before about our. I would like to say a little about our CEO and founder, Mr. Architect Karan Athodaria. History has seen many great leaders. History has seen many great leaders, and today we see them in Karan Athodaria. He even in his during his career of 9 years of in his field of architecture, he has identified various gaps in AEC industry. The utter neglects towards the competence of the industry professionals during the COVID-19 pandemic gave him the best idea that any man could have and revolutionized this particular AEC platform to a greater level. He came up with C3 Collaborative. He brought in an idea. The idea was pretty simple. The idea was to bring all the professionals together in one particular platform. Now imagine if in your particular city, if there are 100 AEC professionals, for example, and the wonders you guys do in your cities is amazing. Now, if I bring all the AEC industry professionals to one particular platform, we can literally imagine the growth of this world. We can literally imagine the growth of a particular profession, a professional, and each and every person who wants to grow has an opportunity, has a platform where he can rely, where he can go. This, my friends, this is a platform which is created by Mr. Architect Karan Athodaria, our CEO and founder of C3. So as you know, I have already talked about our vision. Our vision is very simple. We want to not only benefit the clients, but we want to benefit all our professionals that are signing up with us. Or even if you're not signing up with us, we still want to benefit you in each or some of the other way. So that is why we are promoting webinars. We are promoting more educational values, because in the end, our main motives, our core values are quality. I have worked in C3 for a long period of time now. And believe me, when I say this, C3 Collaborative believes in delivering the best. Nothing but the best. You can see with our communication and our values that we are never ever rude to you. We have a fair and reasonable workflow, and we always promote green sustainable development. This is the best part. What I feel about C3 Collaborative is we always promote ecological and more green sustainable values. Along with that, we want to save our environment with doing the same. Now, these can happen only with your contribution, our professionals' contribution coming to our platform. Our mission is simple. We bring each and every AEC professional to our particular platform. We give them a live stream of clients, and to our clients, we can provide them the best of the best slot of our AEC professionals. That is what we're looking at. That is what our mission is. Now, as I said earlier on, imagine if in one city there are 100 AEC professions, and now imagine if all the professionals are at one particular platform. For them, now you must be imagining there are 100 AEC professionals. We bring them all together. How can we grow? Yes, for you, we have a new thing that we want to introduce, and that is our community platform. As you can see, or as you know, by in the recent times, we have started our Facebook group, on which we have started to promote one particular idea which is beneficial for you and only for you, that we want you guys to collaborate with each other. Our community platform encourages all AEC professionals to come together and interact with each other. If you are, as we are on a digital platform, even if you are sitting in Mumbai and the other professional is in Surat, you can still come together digitally and work on that particular project. That is the main idea that we're looking for. Growth only comes when we all work together. That we have to remember. Growth is only there when we come together, and on that particular platform we start working together. This is something that we are promoting. That is why our motto says Sabka Mangal Ho, because we want growth. We want more and more growth, for not only for us but for all the professionals that are there, for all the human beings that are there. So we want to promote. So for now, what we have done is we have our Facebook group live. We'll be sending the link on the chat description, through which you can click on the link and join. Along with that, for a little bit of a more personal touch, we have our Telegram group. we are launching our Telegram group. In that particular group, you can just come, speak up, come directly, talk to each other, talk to us. We want that particular free environment for each and every professionals that we have, and that is something that we always want to promote. Coming to back to the webinar, I would love to introduce our speaker, engineer Chandan Kumawat, a national level STTP expert speaker. About Chandan Kumawat sir, the one thing when I met him is that, sir, at your age, the things that you have achieved is commendable. It is something that is very difficult for one particular person to achieve. I was in awe when I saw his achievements and the way he presented the entire thing to me. I was mesmerized. I had no words. The man himself, achievements, everything, yet no ego, no arrogance, just pure love and trust. And that is something that you look as at a speaker, that is something, a quality that even we have always promoted, and we look at each other for the same. Introducing a little bit about our Chandan Kumawat sir. He is the founder of BuildFix Ladder, the building doctor. Now, that's a very catchy name, the building doctor, BuildFix Ladder. And I must say, with his current age that he's doing it, this is really, really very great achievement that I must say. Now, he has an expertise in RCC structure repairs and chemical waterproofing consulting and applications. Along with that, if I tell you that Chandan sir has been a national and a state level technical seminar and webinar speaker, and also he has conducted workshops and training sessions. And these lectures have been conducted pan India. His core studies are published in international journals too. He always makes sure, and the one thing that he makes sure, that his reach is open for all the knowledge seekers in building health, monitoring, and subject. And today we are lucky to have him on our particular platform and give us the knowledge regarding the evaluation of RCC structural distresses. And I shall give all the command to Chandan sir. And please, sir, please bless us with your lecture, and uh, please inform us about the evaluation of RCC structure. Over to you, Chandan sir.
Thank you so much. So first of all, I would like to thanks the C3 team, the entire team of C3, for inviting me for this lecture. And I heard about the introduction of myself as well as the C3. So thank you so much, Subhans. It was an interactive one. And I'm really obliged to see and to hear this much about me. Actually, I don't deserve this much respect and all, but yes, it is fine. So thank you so much. So good evening, friends. This is Engineer Chandan Kumar. The introduction has already been given by the C3 team, and we shall move. Okay, so basically today's topic, we all are aware of this topic, what we are going to discuss in today's webinar. It is like RCC structural de-stresses. So what actually the de-stress term is? De-stress is nothing but it is a damage which any building is facing, right? So we'll discuss each and everything regarding the RCC de-stresses and building damages, how they are happening, why they are happening, what are the causes of the same, and what are the solutions, most importantly, as we have seen the video also, right? So outline what all topics which we will be covering, you can see at your screens, from setback to the safeguard, followed by common site errors, introduction to repair and rehab. It will be general guidelines regarding the repair and rehabilitation of RCC structures. Apart from that, the conditional evaluation, which is the most important topic of entire webinar, followed by the materials which we will be using for repair and rehab, and then most importantly, the specifications, what all procedure we need to go for any structural repair work. And lastly, the correct solution path. So we'll see all of them one by one. Okay, so we'll start with from the setback to the safeguard. Now, as you have seen the topic, the RCC structure, evaluation of RCC structural distresses, it has been highlighted in brackets from the setback to the safeguard. So I have intentionally mentioned this thing to get the attention of all the professionals over here. The setback to the safeguard, it is a very important thing to note. Setback means it is a sense like if we talk about the few years back, the RCC structures which were being constructed, the quality of construction, the quality of materials which were available in those days, in today's date, it is not available in that particular scenario, right? So this setback was set all perfectly fine. But if we talk about the safeguard, yes, the buildings are not that safe. So you can see accordingly. Now we'll talk about some common site errors. Now, if you can see the right top corner of this slide, there is a column starter. And I think everyone is aware of this term, the starter. It is nothing but like कि जो भी हम column कभी cast करते हैं, so it is the first and foremost thing which we are constructing. Now, what the actual problem is, in last 2 decades, what we are practicing is a column is casted in 3 levels, in 3 parts, which you can see in the screen also. The first one is the starter, which I have mentioned in the photograph also. And the second part is the size of formwork which we are using for that particular column. The maximum size which we are using is around 2.4 meters. That is the height of plywood itself. And lastly, the cap of the column. That means the beam and column collab, right? So a particular column is constructed in 3 phases. Now, what the problem is, these 3 phases are not good for your construction, your casting provision. But what is the actual use of starters? If I talk about, if I ask you what is the actual purpose of constructing a starter before casting any column, is proper positioning of the column. Now, my question is the proper positioning is the only thing which we are looking for? Or if it is yes, is it possible that the starter is making it sure that you have your column constructed in a single pillar, in a single alignment? So the answer will be no, right? So the starter possesses a number of quality issues. Now these are the 5-6 quality issues which I have mentioned over here. The first thing is we are constructing a starter. Now we are constructing it for the purpose of verticality. But yes, if you think about the starter's dimensions, the height of starter is 75 to 150 mm, right? And the most important thing to wonder is what is the height of the plumb bob which we are using for the vertical alignment. It is 75 to 125. So it is just nothing, but it is a practical thing which we need to check. If we are checking the alignment, we need to look after these things also, right? Similarly, for the starters, when we are making the concrete material, what about the volume of coarse aggregates which we are using? And if we are using the coarse aggregates, are they of desired sizes which should be used? Are they of 20 mm sizes, right? So all these things we need to look after it. Now, if I talk about column concreting, whenever we are using the column concreting, the casting of columns, again, as I said, the casting is done in 3 phases: starter, plywood level, and then the top level. So as per the IS codal provision, we are aware of this fact that less than 1.5 meters height, we need to pour the concrete. But if we talk about the current practice, it is more than that, right? So this leads to the segregation problem and all sort of those of things. And if we go through the ultrasonic pulse velocity test and all, the results are showing the results very poor. The strength gets lesser by 15 to 30%, right? So these all are the things. So for the solution, if we talk about, we can use the window system in our props also, right? So if you can see the photograph in the center in the last third one, the window system in the entire formwork, which can be more useful, right? Next, please. Okay, now one more important problem is regarding the waterproofing in the plaster work. It is a very, very common practice when the structural designer is designing a particular terrace or particular floor slab, and whatever the load he is considering, is assuming for the design purpose is around 200 to 250 kg per square meter as an assumed dead load. But what about the practicality of this thing? If you are having a large span slab, then the load is pretty much more about as compared to the one which was taken earlier, right? So there are many factors available. There are many factors which are influencing this, that the distance between the drain spouts and all those things are visible only on site. They are not considered in the design part. So these are also some of the problems. Along with that, plaster issues. Now the plaster is all about the thickness of plaster, whether it is inner wall or the outer wall, external wall. So same thing happens with plaster work also. The internal plaster thickness as well as the external plaster thickness, as considered by the structural engineer or civil engineer, it is not practiced on site, right? So the overall conclusion says that the structural engineer as well as all the professionals which are included in any construction work need to look after these small things, because they may lead to a big happening, right? Next please. Okay, one of the very common issue which I must say many of us are facing, might be facing, cold joint treatment, which we call it as a construction joint treatment also. If you can see in the left photograph, the you can see a leakage over there, right? This is the construction joint. Now, what happened was the left hand side of that particular joint was constructed later on. The slab was constructed later on, and the construction joint was there. Now, what we are practicing these days is we are just applying a cement paste or cement or any some other grout or material like thing, and we are making sure that that particular construction joint is now completely okay. It is completely uniform, but this is not the actual case. Those construction joints must be treated very carefully, because they might lead to a big happening. So we must use quality materials like polymer latex bonds or some epoxy construction chemicals like materials, so that the construction joints are treated very well. Okay, now this is a very hot topic of today's date, ready mix concrete. I think the number of constructions which are happening in entire globe, if I talk about the residential one, the industrial one, and the commercial one, if the quantity is more, if it is a volumetric work, we are 100% going with RMC. But is RMC that reliable? And we are having so many questions regarding this. So if you see the screen, it has been observed that the RMC is used specifically for the purpose of the consistency, right? The quality of material which we should get. But the problem is, if we talk about the cube strengths, the checking of cube strengths, there are very large differences. If the testing is done in the RMC laboratory, and if we talk about the testing of cubes on site, the results will be very different, right? So what is the actual problem? The RMC suppliers are claiming that the site cubes are not cured properly on the sites, the compaction was not proper, the site mismanagement means they are making us stand for long for mismanagement and all. And for all these things, suppliers are not responsible. This is the claim from suppliers' end of view. Now, if we talk about the owners, what owners are claiming is they are using, the RMC plants are using much quantity of fly ash. They are using pre-wet aggregates. They are using very less amount of 20 size, which is the standard size of coarse aggregates. They are manipulating with the water cement ratios and all. The cube testing in RMC should not be done in RMC plant laboratory. It should be done in some other site or some other lab. So these all are the claims from both the parties, right? Next, please. Now, if we talk about we have got the claims from both the ends, but what is the solution for that? So the conclusion says the ultimate answer is the NDTs. NDTs, as we all might be aware of these things, these are the laboratory testings, and as well as the site testings. So I was talking about the glitches, which the conflicts between the owner, the builder, as well as the RMC supplier. So that was all. Next, please. Okay. Now, these are some common errors which are been practicing. If we talk about the left-hand side photograph, this is an old construction building. It is a high-rise building in Surat itself. If I talk about the age of this building, it is around 25 to 30 years old. And if we talk about the left and the blue highlighted area of that particular building, the component is still having the formwork, the steel formwork attached with it. So these are some of the errors which we are not looking after it on a serious note, and that may lead to a big mishappening, right? So the question is all about the guarantee. Why we are not able to provide the guarantee to the owners, to the parties itself. Next, please. Okay, so these topics were something out of the box which were not related to our today's topic, which were indirectly related, I must say. So now we are entering into the subject. So before starting, we should know the basic terms of general repair and rehabilitation. Repairs is nothing but a restoring of any broken surface or broken component of any building, which for which the building gets into the position once again. Rehabilitation is something what we call it as to making that particular building or component to reforming that particular to returning that particular building into previous good conditions with ensuring the safety and utility promotions. Now talking about the restoration, it is related to the strength. We are regaining the strength of that particular material or that particular building component so that it can be used again. And retrofitting, it is directly related to the seismic strengthening of that particular component. So these all are the basic terms which I think you all are aware of this, right? Okay, structural distresses and the causes. I think many of us are already aware what sort of distresses are happening these days, because we might have seen many cases like that. We are seeing lot many cracks, lot many corrosion issues and all, lot many weathering issues and all. But what are the causes behind those damages? So I have highlighted that particular causes: weathering effects, aging, structural overloads. There are many, so we'll be discussing one by one later on, right? Okay, now talking about the damages which are happening. If you can see, the damages are divided, the deterioration is divided into three particular categories: mechanical defects, chemical defects, and physical defects, which are happening due to mechanical reasons, due to chemical reasons, as well as due to physical reasons. If I talk about mechanical, one of the case I have mentioned in the first photograph, that is the settlement crack. If you can see, there is a compound wall of a row house, I can say. It is a compound wall of a row house where you can see the settlement crack over there. So that is considered in mechanical. And the other cracks are impact cracks, movement, vibration, earthquake cracks, and explosion cracks, etc. If we talk about the chemicals, so there are chemical reactions also in the weathering effect, the alkali aggregate reactions, the alkali silica reactions, the chloride effect, the carbonation effect. There are many, so these things are also the structural, the RCC structures are also affected with weathering effect with the outside atmosphere also. And if we talk about the physical actions, so physical actions are also equally important. They are also playing an important role in deteriorating the RCC structures, from which one of them I have mentioned, the slab you can, the ceiling you can see, it is highly deteriorated. Yes, next please. Okay, now some serviceability and durability aspects. Let me tell you one thing. The entire building, be it residential, commercial, or industrial, they are primarily, or I could say, they are fundamentally dependent on two aspects. That is, number one is serviceability, and number two is durability. If these two aspects are fulfilled to a very good extent, then I can say our building will rely and will go for a long extent, right? It will be having a longer life. So there are many effects which I have already mentioned: weathering effects, carbonation effects, efflorescence issues, permeability issues. These all are the things which are affecting serviceability and durability directly, right? Next, please. Okay, now I have mentioned few photographs. Despite of written contents, I have focused more onto the video, the photography pictorial views, because these things which we can relate it clearly, right? So you can see the first photograph, that is honeycombing is there over, in the RCC structure. It is a RCC wall periphery wherein you can see the honeycombing. The right hand side top, you can see the spalling of concrete. And if we talk about the bottom images, the first one is regarding the concrete cover, insufficient concrete cover due to which the corrosion taking place. And the last images are regarding the efflorescence issues. Now, if I talk about the efflorescence issue, this is a very burning issue in today's date. If we talk about the internal distresses of buildings, everyone is talking about the external stresses. There is settlement, there is cracks, there are leakage issues, there are structural issues. Everyone is talking about the walls issues. In today's date, there are many such cases, the problem of efflorescence. So efflorescence issues are also been there, but yes, the solutions in today's date for efflorescence is also available. So you can see the last treatment going on for the efflorescence as well. Okay, now these two topics are what we can call it as the seeds of RCC damage, or we can say a structural damage. These two things plays the most important role in damaging any building to any extent. It can start with a small minor hairline crack and it can extend up to a complete collapse, right? So the first and foremost important thing is how can we differentiate between a RCC crack and a masonry crack? So the differentiation itself says that RCC crack can be considered as a structural crack and the masonry crack can be considered as a non-structural crack. And we'll see the difference between these in the next slide. Yes. First, if we talk about the structural cracks are nothing but they are initiated with the stress forces of dead as well as live load, both the loads. And you can say the few of the common factors of them are incorrect design, or somewhere there is a faulty construction or overloading. And most of these structural cracks can be seen in beams, columns, slabs, footings, shear walls, infill walls, etc. Right? Okay. Now, what are the categories of structural cracks? So you can see over here in the image itself, there are four structural cracks, four types, four categories of structural cracks, from which you can see the basic difference. You can get it from the image itself, from where they are starting, how they are propagating, what is the path they are following for the crack propagation and all. Yes. Okay. Now, if we talk about the non-structural cracks, as I said, non-structural cracks are more into, they are not endangering the condition of the building or the life. They are just impacting on the non-structural part of the building, which we can call it as a parapet walls or the other brick masonry, block masonry walls and all. So these cracks which you are seeing on the walls and all, they are considered as a non-structural crack, and their treatment is also possible in today's day. Yes. Now we have seen the types of cracks, but the question is, what are the causes of cracks? The previous slide, please. Causes of cracks. So I was talking about the causes of cracks. We have seen the types of cracks, but what are the causes from where these cracks are generating? So these two categories are divided into two parts. Number one is the plastic stage, what we call it as a fresh stage of casting, and the other stage is the hardened stage. That means after the concrete is getting hardened, right? So these are the categories. Before hardening, that is from the plastic stage, there are construction movements like framework getting moved, the settlement is happening. Plastic stage, if we call it about the cracks which are taking place as a plastic shrinkage crack, or we can call it as a wet shrinkage crack also. Crazing, which we can see, scaling we can see. All these cracks are all the major cracks are caused due to these reasons in plastic stage. And if we talk about the hardened stage, there are many other factors also: the chemical reactions, the design reactions, the construction errors, the weathering action, the environmental impacts. All these affects the RCC structure, the building, and then it gets propagated in the form of cracks. Okay, one of the most important thing which I have mentioned is crazing. Crazing is something what we call it as a type of map. It is having a map-like projection, which you can see in the crack image itself. It is nothing but like a hairline map, like web-like image you can see. These are mostly happening in plastic stage as well as the hardened stage also. Most of the cases which we have seen is in the plastic stage due to heat of hydration and the other environmental atmospheric impacts and all. Okay, now cracks part is covered. The second and most important thing is corrosion. corrosion is the highly impacted subject, or we can say corrosion is a term which is degrading RCC structure to a very big extent, right? And if we talk about India, India is facing a very serious issue of corrosion in the structural components in these building structures. If you can see the last paragraph of this slide, in a tropical country like India, where approximately 80% of annual rainfall takes place in 2 months, rusting related problems are more in residential as well as industrial areas. And for this, building requires major restoration work in just a period of 15 years. So this is a very burning issue which needs to be taken care of. The causes of corrosion, the sources of corrosion must be found out, and the corresponding factors, we need to stop them in today's date. And if the corrosion has already been done, the corrosion needs to be cured to the earliest. Next, please. Yes, the factors which are influencing the corrosion of the reinforcement bars. The factors you can see at the slide itself. There are many factors like pH value, the moisture ingress, the gases impact like or oxygen chloride. All these things are influencing a lot in corroding a reinforcement bar. And few of the measures which we can use to protect our reinforcement bars are: we can use the good quality of concrete. We must maintain the water cement ratio. If the corrosion has already been done, the steel treatment should be done, like rust removing application, the corrosion inhibitors application, super plasticizers application, and all. So these are the solutions for the corrosions. Okay, now if I talk about the French circle of corrosion, for any RC component, the the factors which are playing the role of a friend for corrosion are these, which you can see in the left side image. Carbon dioxide, which is playing a very important role in carbonation issues. Chlorides and sulfates as a weathering effect. And water and oxygen are also equally important. At times what happens is, कई बार मैंने सुना है ऐसे केसेस में जहाँ पे द क्लाइंट इज क्लेमिंग, सर मेरा तो पूरा जो कॉलम है वो पूरा अभी तक ओके है, उसमें कोई क्रैक नहीं आया, फिर भी देयर इज कोरोजन इन द स्टील. What is the major reason? So there are few points. If the concrete cover is okay, but if the steel is still getting corroded, there are factors like water ingress, moisture ingress, carbonation impact. All these things are playing active role in corroding, in rusting your steel also. Right? Next, please. Now the chloride impact of corrosion is being mentioned over here. The chloride, the ingress of chloride is more when we talk about the weathering effect, the salty environment. If there is an exposed and salty environment like area, therein chloride impact is more impactful. And the deterioration type due to chloride ingress, we can say, is delamination and spalling of concrete. Okay, as I said, carbonation, it plays a very important role. At times what I have seen is कि कई बार मेरे पास में ऐसे chemical manufacturers आते हैं which they are saying like कि सर हमारा ये प्रोडक्ट यूज करो, इट इज एंटी कार्बोनेशन मटेरियल, इट इज एन एंटी कार्बोनेशन पेंट. सो व्हाट डज दिस टर्म एंटी कार्बोनेशन मींस? सो दीज थिंग्स आर रिलेटेड टू दिस पर्टिकुलर थिंग कि कार्बोनेशन इम्पैक्ट जो है वो किस तरीके से एक्ट करता है. सो द gaseous impact is also equally important in rusting your steel, in corroding your steel. So this reaction, the general chemical reaction which is taking place for carbonation to occur, you can see over here. So this is directly corroding your steel, reaching to your steel and decreasing the pH value of the concrete, so that the corrosion must take place. So we must avoid carbonation too. Now let us talk about the oxidation. How oxidation, the amount of oxygen plays a role in corroding the steel. If you can see the bar, the part, I have mentioned the different types of bars. First one is the pure iron, then an impact of oxygen and moisture, followed by excess moisture ingress, and then the moisture ingress along with the salty weather, and then finally moisture ingress as well as salty weather, which is leading directly to the leakage issues. Right. So these are the impacts which oxygen is playing and corroding your steel. Okay, so this was all about the RCC deterioration, de-stresses, the parameters which are related to them, and then the cracks and corrosion. Now moving to the core subject, how these de-stresses or these damages need to be evaluated. The major important thing is the actual and the correct evaluation of these damages, because any problem, I personally believe any problem is cured once if you are short about the source of that particular problem, from where did it appear, what type of problem is it, and how you are dealing with it to sort it down. So the evaluation starts with the investigation approaches, and the investigation is like the first and foremost thing is visual inspection. So by visual inspection, you can see these types of problems: honeycombing, potholes, cracks, and all. So these kind of problems you can see and you can note it down on your notepads and all. Moving forward comes the second stage is the testing analysis. The things which cannot be catched by our naked eyes or by visual inspection are considered in this subject. Testing analysis are like the NDTs and PDTs, what we call it as partial destructive tests and non-destructive tests. And these many tests, there are n number of tests available in market for testing. There are many partial destructive tests, there are many non-destructive tests, but I have mentioned only few which are playing very important role in RCC investigations. I have mentioned only those parts. Okay, so these many tests: wooden hammers for mechanical checking, rebound hammer, ultrasonic pulse velocity is very important, core extraction, chemical analysis, carbonation, rebar locator, and half cell potentiometer. So these all are the NDT tests which can be performed to get the correct evaluation of strength and quality of concrete. Okay, we'll start with rebound hammer. I'm not going into deep with all these tests. I'm just mentioning few things which we need to consider. Rebound hammer is the initial level NDT which we are doing. It is just a single hammer which you can see in the image itself. So it is used for the assessment of quality as well as uniformity of the concrete, and it can give you a likely value of compressive strength. Mark my words, it does not give you the exact compressive strength of your concrete. It is more likely to, if you are looking forward to the quality and uniformity of the concrete, you can definitely go with this test. But if you want your compressive strength to be checked on a clear, accurate note or to a precise note, you have to go with the second test, which is UPV test. Yes, UPV, as it say, as the name suggests, ultrasonic pulse velocity test. Now, let me tell you one thing. This is the most considerable, or I can say this is the mostly used test in RCC investigation and evaluation part, because it is a non-destructive test. It is not damaging your concrete at any case. You can see the test in under process. It is myself testing the RCC silo periphery walls. This is the UPV test which is getting conducted, and these are the values which are playing important role, which are helping you to check the quality of concrete. How is it? Is it doubtful? Is it excellent? Is it good? Likewise. Next, please. Okay, now this is a chart for which you just need to focus onto the red part and the green part and the heading of that particular charts. Pulse velocity readings pre-repairs means before repairing, when you did the evaluation by UPV test, the readings were doubtful. At the last, you can see the red part, right? And if I talk about the pulse velocity reading post repairs, means by this, I just want to tell you one thing. Not only doing the repairs is important, but after the repair has been done, you need to post check it. You need to post examine it by redoing the pulse velocity or the NDT test, so that it gets confirmed that the repair procedure, the repair methodology which is being used has been correctly implemented, right? So this is the basic difference. Next, please. Now, core sampling is the most reliable test in entire testing evaluation of RCC structural system of any particular RCC component, right? So core sampling, it is just a process of extracting a core. You all might be aware of this thing. And there are testing like chemical test and all these things happens in this core testing. So as I said, the the extraction of core, the core which has been extracted needs to go with some chemical test like chloride content test, the carbonation test, the sulfate test, the pH value test. All these tests are being done in core extraction itself, and that is the reason why we are getting the exact value or the accurate value or the precise value of your compressive strength of that particular RCC component. Right. Next, please. Okay. So after extracting those cores, what observations we are getting is it is just a sheet for your reference. What all observation which we are getting is the aggregates are flaky, the coarse aggregates are not more in quantity, bonding of cement and aggregates are not much. So these all are the observation which you can see in the core which has been extracted. Right. Next, please. Okay. So this was all about the testing. Now moving forward, the design analysis, the analysis part. So here is where the important role of structural engineer plays. So a structural consultant needs to make sure that after getting all these results of visual inspection, the testing and all, we need to form an audit report. And along with that particular audit report, before introducing any construction material or any repair methodology, we need to check the design analysis part also. So for this, we need to go with the load combinations and all, and the standard codes, codal provisions and all. But let me tell you one thing, there is no such any exact IS codal provision which is specificated, which has to be used for repair works. Analysis part, for strengthening part and all, there is an IS code which you can see in the next slide. Yes, it is IS 15988 2013, which is like seismic evaluation and strengthening of existing reinforced concrete buildings. So this is the IS code which can be used for strengthening of RCC structures for seismic analysis or seismic evaluations, right? So this code has been made after after getting the flaws, or which we can say the limitations, the IS codal provision, that is IS 15988 code, which has been used after noting or analyzing the flaws of 1893, 4326 and 13920, which we were using earlier as ductile detailing and seismic parts. So we can use this particular code for your design approaches. Next, please. Okay. Now moving ahead, after getting all the testing part, the auditing part, the reporting part done, we need to introduce few materials. The selection of material plays an equal important. The method, the techniques, the materials which you are using for repair work or for strengthening work, whatever it is, you need to pay an utmost important focus for selecting of those particular materials as well, right? So basic tools includes like chipping, breaking, removing, coating, shuttering, safety materials and all. And if I talk about the chemicals, so chemicals which have been used are like rust removers, rust passivators, bonding agents, protective coatings, grouts and anchors, mortars and microconcrete. These are few of the running materials which are being used in the industry for repair and rehab. I'm not focusing on two brands, but yes, these are the base of the chemicals which can be used, which should be used for your repairs. And if I talk about the basic materials, they are like cement, sand, coarse aggregate, bricks, and water. Now, I have mentioned specifically this last paragraph is for a specific reason, because in today's day, cement, sand, and aggregates as bricks, these things need to be selected very carefully, because these are just basic materials. We are not taking more important care of those things. Bricks and water should be of pure potable water, or you can say soft water. Aggregates of perfect size of around 20 mm, the standard size of coarse aggregate that should be used. Cement should be used of good quality, like as I always prefer OPC over PPC. So I'm always saying everyone, please use OPC as much as possible, because of fly ash content in PPC, you are degrading the material quality, right? So selection of these particular basic materials plays important role as well. So after selecting the materials, now comes the part of RCC structural repairs and rehabilitation. Now, what is repair and rehab? We are already aware what is repair, what is rehabilitation, but how is it done? So there is a specific format, not specific. I can say there should be a standard format, which we are also following, and all the agencies or whosoever he or she is, they might be following. But I am just focusing on to the point like there should be a specified methodology which should be used for implementing or executing any repair or strengthening work. So few of the basic repair works are mentioned over here, crack filling works. Now for crack filling works, I'm preferring cementitious grout very less. Mark my words, for crack filling works, rubber based or UV flexible material should be given more emphasis on, because since they are UV stable and water resistant, these materials are more reliable. Although the cost of this particular material is like this, but yes, we need to focus on to this. So grouting materials, steel treatment works, polymer treatment works, and efflorescent treatment works. So these all things are considered in repair and rehabilitation. Okay, now moving forward, jacketing. So this is the strengthening part. Earlier it was repair and rehab, now it is strengthening. It is just somewhat similar to repair and rehab, but yes, there is a provision of jacketing concept over here. The steel, the extra steel has been used over here. So the major things which are considered in jacket, the strengthening part is grouting works, integral homogeneity, that is cementitious, epoxy and polyurethane grouts you can use. Steel treatment works, that is the rusting of steel should be removed by rust removing chemicals, and the corrosion inhibitor material should be used for protective coating of steel. And lastly, the jacketing, the rebar work, the jacketing work of strengthening. Yes. So you can use grouts and micro concretes as well for these particular materials. Now, what are the minimum specifications? What are the specifications which needs to be followed for jacketing work, right? So we'll focus on to the next slide. Yes, this one. So this is the minimum specification. It has been already mentioned in the IS code, as I already mentioned a few minutes back. But yes, I have just focused on to some few parts, that the material which we are using should be of higher strength as it was earlier. The minimum jacket, there is a provision of around a specific number, specific thickness you have to maintain. The lateral supports, the ties which you are using, that should be of specific angles. The diameter of ties need to be freezed. The vertical spacing of the ties, all these things need to be taken care of using the IS codal provisions, right? Before going through with any jacketing work. Okay, so what are the pros and cons, the advantages and disadvantages of jacketing work? So advantages, yes, as it always clears it out. It increases the shear and flexural capacity of beams. And if we talk about the columns, it increases the compressive and moment carrying capacity, as well as the materials which we are using for jacketing, like cement, micro concrete, polymer material, and all these things are readily available in the market. So there is no hassle into it. And buckling effect of slender columns are also solved in this particular thing. But there are many disadvantages as well. The section sizes, as if there are any site area constraint, you cannot use this particular practice over there. Huge dead mass we are adding, longitudinal bars, there are many damages and punctures which we need to do in the existing RCC beams and columns as well as slabs. So these all things plays an important role as well. The implementation, the speed is also slow of this particular practice. But yes, as a solution, as an alternative, there are many new materials available in the market, like FRPs and all, carbon fibers, glass fibers, aramid fibers. There are many materials as well. So you can use those things as well, but they are comparatively costlier. Okay, now what is the procedure to repair or to strengthen any building? I have just marked the key points of this particular procedure, but there is no specific as such, as I already said, in any RC, in any IS codal provision, there is no such specific procedure which has been mentioned to be followed for any repair or strengthening work. But yes, you need to make one, right? So we'll start with marking. The marking should be done for a perfect geometry, and that after that, that particular geometry need to be grooved, chipped off using mechanical chippers and all, right? And then the loose concrete, which we have investigated by light hammering and all, that loose concrete has been is being chipped off, which you can see in the last image, right? So these all are the things which you need to take care. This is the sequence which we are following. Next, please. Right after the chipping, the next point comes is, what about the integral homogeneity of the RCC? Means I'm talking about the integral internal voids, which has been disturbed, which has been disintegrated. We cannot see by naked eyes and all, but as per the NDT results, we need to focus on to that also. So for those particular things, you can drill holes and then you can go for the grouting works, be it cementitious or epoxy or PU base, whatever material you are using. It depends upon the type of de-stress which actually is. So you can use these grouting material, these grouting processes as well to fulfill the integral homogeneity of your RCC surface. Next, please. Okay, now comes the part of steel treatment. After chipping off, after getting the integral homogeneity as uniform, we will go with the steel treatment. Steel treatment basically comes with two important things. First one is the removal of the rust or the corrosion which has been already been impacted on your steel. That should be removed with a good quality rust removing chemical, and followed by a corrosion inhibitor material so that it can act as a protective coating on your RCC reinforcement bar. Right? You can see the images as well, the rust removing as well as the rust protecting images as well. Okay, moving forward. Now, after the treatment of steel comes the part of the filling material. Yes. Now, this is the thing where we need to take care of. Many of the contractors, civil contractors are practicing a very wrong practice over here. जनरली क्या साइड पे देखा जाता है कि कहीं पे भी ऐसा कुछ डिस्ट्रेस होता है कंक्रीट का, तो व्हाट कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स आर यूज प्रैक्टिसिंग इज प्लास्टर निकालो और उसके बाद में रीप्लास्टर कर दो एंड योर बिल्डिंग इज ओके. दिस इज नॉट द वे ऑफ आरसीसी रिपेयर्स, राइट? सो और देयर आर फ्यू कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स एज वेल जो स्टील ट्रीटमेंट कर देते हैं उसके बाद में रीप्लास्टर कर देते हैं. Let me tell you one thing, there is a huge difference between this, and I'll talk about it in a technical term. The material which you are using for replaster, that is cement sand, and for plastering material, the compressive strength which you are getting is around 7.5 megapascal, right? So if your concrete grade is M20, M25, and if you are using the material of 7.5 grade, 7.5 MPa, where your existing material is already of 20, 25 MPa, how will the homogeneity will take place, right? So you need to use the material which is already more than your existing material. Say for example, if your material is, your concrete grade is M20, you have to use at least M25 grade material. So cement sand does not play well, right? So you need to use polymer materials or micro concrete materials. Those materials are having very high strength and that can be used for your repair works. Okay, so as I said, for polymer treatment works, it is just a hand patching material, so you don't need to go for shuttering and all. But yes, for flowable concrete material, for free flowing material like micro concrete and all, you have to go with shuttering and foam work and all. So these things you can see, the application of foam work and then the pouring of material and the curing and all these things. Okay, so finally the last part is after the grinding, the curing part. So curing is also a very important key. You have to do the curing with specified interval or the specified specifications, right? So curing needs to be done. So that's all. Next, please. This is the entire part of RCC structural repair and rehab procedure. Now, before concluding, I'll say what actually the correct solution is. So for going a correct solution, you need to follow this particular flow chart. We are following this flow chart. For a correct consulting, you need to identify the de-stress location, then followed by the actual type of de-stress, and what are the promoting factors for it, what are the further adverse impact of that particular thing, and then coming towards the right solutions, right? So this is the complete flow chart which we are following and need to be followed for all the professionals.
Hi, sorry to disturb you, sir, but I think we are running out of time for
Yes,
today.
we have already concluded, sir. This was
Perfect.
the last
So
slide.
about the Q&A sessions, I would like to apologize to each and every one of you because due to lack of time, we won't be able to conduct it. But you can send all your questions in our Telegram group. We have shared the link in the chat and we'll share the link with you again through emails, and we'll also be sending a feedback form on which you can put all your questions over there. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much, Chandan sir, for giving us such a beautiful webinar and a beautiful talk about RCC structure and their distresses. And thank you for the solution for all. I would like to
Thank
thank
you so
each and
much.
every one of you for coming here and giving us the pleasure of in trying to educate each and every one of you. Thank you so much, and please, good night, everyone, and please take care. Please stay safe. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.